is Solpass. I don't know where Solpass is. It must be in Virginia because it says Virginia Standards of Learning. So this is a high school. It's the end of course Algebra 1 final exam. This is a phenomenal assessment. This is a really good read on whether you are ready to test out of Algebra 1. So first thing that they provide, Algebra 1 formula sheet, geometric formulas. Love this page. I mean, these are everything. This is more pre-algebra content, maybe outside of the Pythagorean theorem, but that's kind of introduced in pre-algebra also. But all of these geometric formulas are all pre-algebra. We don't really focus on these at all in Algebra 1. So here, milligrams, grams, so unit abbreviations. Quadratic formula is something we definitely deal with in 8th grade in Algebra 1. And pi will be approximately 3.14 or 22/7. Those are both approximations for the values. And it says Algebra 1 directions, read each question, choose the best answer. For this test, you may assume that the value of the denominator is not 0. So that would mean that we wouldn't have any undefined or no solutions in the denominator. Here's a sample question. We can start on that. What's the value of f of x when x is 6? So we're talking about functions. That's what the f of x. This does not say f times x. This is function notation. So when they want to know when x equals 6, they're asking for f of 6. So wherever we see x, we are going to plug in a 6 for that value. F of 6 equals 6 squared plus 2 times 6 plus 3, which is 36 plus 12 plus 3, which is 48 plus 3, which is 51. So f of 6 equals 51. That would be C as our sample problem to warm up. What value of x will make the equation 3 times the quantity x plus 15 minus 6x equals negative 6 times the quantity x minus 3 true? So there's two ways. We can reverse engineer it by plugging in each of those 4 values, or we can simplify. So we're going to simplify and solve for x. That's kind of what they want us to do here. And then we're going to distribute this negative 6 into here also. And we get negative 6x plus 18. We're going to simplify. We're going to combine like terms. We had like terms on the same side, so we simplify that. Now we have variables and constants on both sides. Mr. Mack always tells you to move the variable first. That gives us 3x plus 45 equals 18. We'll subtract 45 from both sides. Now this is just a typical two-step equation. We get rid of things being added and subtracted first. 45, 18, that's 3, that's 7, that's 27, negative, and then we'll divide by 3. X equals negative 9. So that's my solution. That's the only value that can go in to the problem that makes that equation true. Everything else, if we plugged in negative 6, you get a false number statement. Your variables will cancel because you're plugging in a value like negative 6, and then you simplify the left side, simplify the right side, and you get a number statement. If it's false, then that number you plugged in is not a solution. If we plugged in not negative 9, we would get a true statement, a true number statement, which describes the graph g of x equals negative 3x plus 5. So this is still a function, and it's in slope-intercept form. So I should know that that's slope-intercept form. I know that the coefficient of x is the slope. I know that the constant is going to be the y-intercept. So what has a slope of negative 3 and a y-intercept of positive 5? So slope of negative 3 and a y-intercept of 5 would be g. They're switching it up there on you, changing the letters from A, B, C, and D to F, G, A, and J, no I's. What is most likely the slope of the line graphed on the coordinate plane? So we see, I don't know if you can see that, that line is here. I know when it's either horizontal or vertical that my equation is going to only have one variable. And it's going to be the variable that this line goes through. So it goes through the x-axis. So I know my equation here is going to be x equals 3. So what is most likely the slope of the line? Doesn't tell me the slope, but that's the equation for the line. And then the slope, remember, is rise over run. So rise, if we pick 2 points on this line, if we pick that point and that point, it rises 1, 2, 3. So it goes up 3 and it runs 0. So that is no slope. It has no slope. It has an undefined slope. So we would call that D. So we know that is negative. 3 over 0 is undefined. So you okay with that? Good. Which ordered pair represents the solution to the system of equation? So I can do it again. I can plug in, I can reverse engineer by plugging in 7 for x, 2 for y, and simplifying each of the statements. I would have to do both of the statements, or I could solve the system. I guess I'll just solve it because it's good practice. I'm going to multiply this negative. I'm going to multiply this negative. Sorry, one more time. I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by -2. I'm going to multiply each of the items and write an equivalent equation with -2x plus 12y equals +10. What that does is I can use the addition. I can add these together, and add my constants together, and that will give me a statement of 5y equals 10 divided by 2 divided by 2. I know that my y value, wow, my brain is melting right now. What am I dividing by 2 by? Yeah, my brain, I don't know what's going on. I just had lunch. Maybe all the blood is going to my stomach. Sorry about that. So that is correct. Just checking my work because my brain's not working. So y equals 2. So which one of these points has a y value of 2? It's that. So, I mean, technically I should be okay. If you want to be 100% certain, you can take one of the equations. Let's take the bottom equation and we can plug in 2 for y. And we can solve, and we get x equals 7. So that worked. That point is 7, 2, and it coincides. Now, if I'm down on time, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm going to try to be as efficient as possible. Maybe I star that one and say I just got to go back and check. So we definitely have to be aware of time constraints when taking a test as big as this. What is the solution of the following inequality? Well, a high school student would divide both sides by 3 instead of distributing. And then we would add 3, and we get x is less than or equal to 4. So x is less than or equal to 4 is going to be C, and we can move on. That's a relatively simple problem. We again have a sort of hard to see equation, or a line linear equation. Which equation best models line N? So here we go again. It goes through the x-axis at 8. And so I know that when I have a horizontal or vertical line, I know I only have one variable in the equation, and that's going to be F. Are we going to get that same thing as we had with our other assessment where all the answers were A? Hopefully not. So that's good. Yeah. Which quadratic equation has the solutions of 5 and 7? We, again, could plug those in, or we can solve them. And, well, we'll do this because there's some learning here. X squared minus 5x equals 0. How do we solve that? I would factor out an x, and then I use the 0 property. So I set each one equal to 0. So my solutions are 5 and 0. That's the solutions for A. If I wanted to solve B, I have x squared minus 2x minus 35 equals 0. I'm going to factor that. Factors of 35, when subtracted, equal -2, are going to be x plus 5, x minus 7. And then we'll use the 0 property. So I'm good enough in factoring that I can do the easy ones in my head. That comes with lots of practice, but that's what Algebra 1, Honors Algebra 1 students will be able to factor when your A is 1. These equations are in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? That's sort of how we factor those. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals y also. You can see it that in formula. And we can do that when A is 1, like in this case, we can factor it mentally. My solutions are -5 and +7, so that doesn't work. Let's look at C. C will factor. I gotta take a peek at that again. X squared minus 3x minus 28. That's factors of 28. When subtracted equal 3, we get x minus, let's do x plus 4, x minus 7 equals 0. And we, again, a good math student's going to be able to see that this is -4 and +7, because we know that the simple operation, so that's not my two solutions. So I would go and just say, okay, my answer is D. I wouldn't even do the work if I was taking a placement test or something like that, or not a placement, but a time test. X squared minus 12x plus 35 equals 0. Factors of 35 now, when added, equal -12. Well, that's -5 and -7. So, and again, equals 0. X minus 7 equals 0. We're going to add 5, add 5. So this took way too much time. Most problems should take you under a minute to do. So since this is it may have been maybe better to just plug in. I don't know, but I just wouldn't talk as much if I was doing this problem. Which graph best represents the equation? We again are in slope-intercept form. This is going to be my slope. This is going to be my y-intercept. So I'm looking for a graph that has a y-intercept of -2. And all four of these have a y-intercept of -2. Now my slope of 3/4, that's positive. So this is positive, that's not it. And this is a positive slope. So I'm looking to see what has a slope of 3/4, meaning up 3, 1, 2, 3, and right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me here. That's not looking good. So I'll do this F, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Takes me right there. Takes me right there. And so I know my answer is going to be F. That is in less than 1 minute. I like that. This is the graph of a system of linear equations. So we understand that systems are two lines, two linear equations that share a common solution. So that point is going to be a solution to both equations, both y equals mx plus b equations, based upon the graph, which is the apparent solution of the system, C, 4, 3. That's really easy. Like that one, which is an example of the distributive property. This is the commutative property. It mirrors. This is the distributive property. This is the, I guess this is identity. And this is the, no, that's commutative property also. So G, 10 would be G. Which graph best represents the equation of the line? Oh, we got a lot of these. So I have a y-intercept of 2. So not C, maybe, maybe, maybe. So we know it's definitely not C. And then a slope of -1/3. That's down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. So down 1, right, down 1, 1, 2, 3. Not it. 1, 2, down 1, right 3. 1, 2, 3. Not it. Down 1, 1, 2, 3. That's it. As fast and as easy as that. D. 11 would be D. A school play costs $1,200 to produce. If the tickets sold for $5 each, the profit P made on the play by selling X tickets is given by the equation shown. So this represents our debt. This is how much money we owe, or we spent. This is how much money we spent, and this is our ticket cost per ticket. What is the slope of the line representing this equation? The slope is going to be 5. So it's the coefficient of x. My y-intercept would be -1,200. So that's in y equals mx plus b form. We've isolated for p. Which of the following is a solution to, so first thing I would do if I was factoring, I'd factor out a 2, and I get this, and then I would factors of 6 when subtracted equal 1 are going to be x plus 3, x minus 2, and so I know x is going to equal -3 and x is going to equal 2. So which of the following is a solution? Just B. C is -2, so that would not be a solution. Which is an equation for the line that contains 1, 2 and has a slope of 4. So we are going to use slope-intercept form, and notice what we get here. We get the slope of 4, that's going to go in for m. We get an x value, and we get a, let's use yellow, and we get a y value. So we'll plug that in. And that will allow us to figure out what b is. So it's 2 equals 4 times 1 plus b. 2 equals 4 plus b minus 4 minus 4. -2 equals b. Now we take this equation and we plug in for the slope and the y-intercept. So this is a standard, or this is in slope-intercept form. So 4x minus 2, that would be h. And one of the other things we need to be able to do is attack these problems because we're familiar with it. Which inequality is equivalent to 4x minus 2y is less than or equal to 8? We notice that all the problems are isolated for y, so let's get y by itself. We're going to subtract 4x first. -2y is less than or equal to -4x plus 8. We're going to divide by -2 by all the things. Dividing, we have to remember to flip the inequality sign. When we divide both sides by a negative, we have to flip the inequality. That gives us 2x minus 4. And y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 4. That would be b. What is the slope of the line that passes through? So we know that slope equals this formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Remember, it's the rise over the run, or the difference of y's over the difference of x's. And remember, y's is rise. Rise is on our rise. Up and down is on our y-axis. Left and right is on our x-axis, so that's y. And this is going to be x sub 1, y sub 1. This is our first point. So that would be the x value in the first point, the y value in the first point. This is called x sub 2, y sub 2, because this is point number 2. And now let's plug in. Y sub 2 is 9 minus y sub 1, which is 5. X sub 2 is 3 minus x sub 1 is negative 2. You need both of those negatives in there because we're subtracting the x sub 1 value. 9 minus 5 is 4. 3 minus negative 2 is positive 5. So I have a slope of 4/5. H. H, nope, we're going to voicemail. 16 is H. Yep, good. In addition to an $80 bonus, Joan earned $8 per hour working last week. Joan's total earnings last week were $240. How many total hours did she work last week? So her salary is equal to her rate times the number of hours plus her bonus. So her salary was $240. Her rate was $8 an hour, and she had an $80 bonus. So that's how we do that. Now we're going to solve for H, the number of hours. So that's going to be, what's that, 6, 160, 6, 12, 14, yep, equals 8H, divide by 8, divide by 8, H equals 20, so she worked for 20 hours. 20 hours at $5, at $8 per hour is 160, plus the 80 would get her at 240 if you wanted to check. So, yep. Number 18, Tommy with an IE paid $17.50 to buy 6 youth tickets and 1 adult ticket to a school carnival. Susan paid $22.50 to buy 3 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets at the carnival. What is the price of an adult ticket? So we're going to use systems of equation. We're going to put the total equals 6 youth plus 1 adult. And then the other situation with those same values is $22.50 to buy 3 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets. Now I'm going to, this is a system, there's lots of different ways to do systems. I'm going to find, there's substitution, there's graphing, and then there's elimination. I'm going to use elimination. I'm going to multiply the top equation by -3. And that gives me, yuck, that's an ugly number, 1750 times 3 gives me 52.5. 52.5, -52.5 equals -3 times, we're multiplying -3 times everything to find that equivalent equation. That's going to be -18y minus 3a. And now I just bring this equation over because I don't have to change it. 22.5, 3y plus 3a. We notice the a's are going to cancel. And that leaves me with, that's going to leave me with 0, 0. So -30 equals -15y. Divide by -15, divide by -15, and we get 2 equals y. So I bought, my youth ticket was $2, and now I need to go in and plug into one of those original equations. It says, what was the price of an adult? So I solved for, I probably should have solved for, I should have canceled youth and I would have gotten my adult. So that was a little bit of a mistake. 17.5 equals 6 times y. My y is 2 plus a. I'm going to make it a little bit easier there. minus 12 gives me 5.5. So an adult ticket is $5.50. $5.50. H, we seem like H is a very common answer. What's wrong with these assessments? Why can't they change it up? what is the value of 6x minus 3y divided by xy when x equals 6 and y equals negative 4? So we're just going to substitute those values. So wherever we see an x, we're going to plug in 6. Wherever we see a y, we're going to plug in negative 4. And we'll just rewrite this. 6 times 6 minus 3 times negative 4 over 6 times negative 4. We're going to do orders of operation. 6 times 6 is 36. Negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. And 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. That's going to give us 48 over negative 24, which is negative 2. A. We would have to do this operation and this operation. That's a negative 3 times a negative 4. Very important. Which equals, all right, well, we have two scientific notations. So when we multiply scientific notations, we multiply that outside number times itself, and then we multiply like bases. So off to the side, I'm going to do 2.3 times 3.6, 18, 12, 13, that's 9, that's 6, that's 8. That is 8, 12, 8, 2 decimal places, 1, 2, so I move it 2 places, 8.28. So 8.28 times, we have 10 to the third times 10 to the third, so we add those exponents when we multiply like bases, and that's 10 to the 6th. So G for number 20. What would have been nice is if this number needs to be, if we're in scientific notation, it needs to be between 1 and 10. Oh boy, somebody is really loud and crazy out there. Which expression is equivalent? So we have multiple binomials. We would distribute that into here, and we would distribute this into these, and we know that it actually doesn't change it because a positive 1. So I'm just going to write these out. I'm going to write 4x squared minus 3x plus 9. And some people like doing this, 7x squared minus 11 and negative x squared plus 7x minus 2. They like to do it in this column. So we have 4x squared, 7x squared, and negative 1x squared. So we will combine all of that column, and we combine their coefficients. So that's going to give me 10x squared, and then we add this column, and that's going to give me positive 4x. And then we add this column, and that's going to give me, what's that, negative 13, 4, negative 4, minus 4. So 10x squared plus 4x minus 4 is A. That's probably the easiest way to do that one. 21, yep, good. 22, in simplest radical form, the square root of 845 is equal to, so when we have this, 845 is, this is what a lot of students would do. They'd put it 8, 4, 5, and do square root. And they get this number 29. Then they think it's kind of close to 29. No. Well, it is close to 29, but notice it's not here. What we need to do is we need to find factors of 845, and we want to split it up. We're looking for a perfect square in 845. Well, my perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, etc. And I'm looking to see if any of these go into it. So I see, I can use my logic and understand, okay, 13. 13 squared is 169, I think. 13 squared, 169. So clearly 169 goes into 845. 845 divided by 169. I don't know how you would know that. It goes in 5 times. So 169, not yellow anymore. So 169 times 5, and then we separate them into their own houses. And the square root of 169, as we already know, is 13. And rad 5 cannot be simplified, so it's J. Again, radicals, you're going to have to go look at my videos. All of this stuff is on my videos, by the way. All of this work can be found on my website, on YouTube, and just search that concept and you can listen to a video about it. Which polynomial is equivalent? And here's our when x is not equal to 0. We know that we're going to find common factor. We're going to factor that numerator. We can't cancel things being added and subtracted, so we have to turn it to multiplication. So let's look at the coefficients 8 and 12. We can factor out a 4. Then we have x to the third and x, so I can factor out an x. If I factor 4x from 8x cubed, that gives me 2x squared. If I factor out a 4x from 12x, that gives me 3 all over 2x. Now, since this is multiplying, I can cancel. I can cancel that, and I can cancel the x's. So that gives me 2, and I'm left with 2 times the quantity 2x squared plus 3. That's not one of the answers, so I'm going to distribute 4x squared plus 6. 4x squared plus 6 would be A for number 23. Cool? Good. I have a game plan. I read it. What is the complete factorization of that? So I know that I'm going to factor. I know how to do factors of 14 when subtracted equal 5. Well, that's x minus 7, x plus 2. I can do that in my head. And I know that the correct answer is going to be G. That took me less than 10 seconds. I'm so familiar with this material that I can just do a lot of the work mentally. You have to get to that level, and that comes with practice. Which statement could be represented by the expression, the square of a number increased by 4? No. The square of the product of a number and 4? No. The square of a number increased by 4. So that would be n squared plus 4. The square of the product of a number and 4, that's n, product. No, that would be 4n squared. The sum of 2 times a number and 4 times a number. Of 2 times a number, no, that would be 2n and 4n. That's the sum. The square of a number increased by 4 times the number. Yep, the square of a number increased by 4 times the number. So that would be D. Still good to be able to write those other ones. Which expression is equivalent to? So we would distribute. I'd look and make sure I can't combine anything, which I can't. That's coefficients and then variables. So 8x to the third minus 4x squared minus 12x. And it should take you that much time. That would be J. Make sure you distribute to all 3 for 26. So some of these problems you should be sort of moving quite quickly. Which label point on the number line is closest to rad 40? So let's think about this. Perfect squares. Square root of 36, square root of, this is 6, and 49 would be 7. So square root of 40 is going to be in there. So it's going to be between 6 and 7. Now where does it sit between 6 and 7? So it's sure as heck isn't 6, so I would have to say that it's x. So that's between 6 and 7. W represents the square root of 36. That would be W. You know what I mean? This is this because it produced 6. So square root of 40 is going to be, and square root of 49 would be 7. So our answer is X. That's a good one. I like the comprehension. A computer chip has 2 pins on one side. One pin is 4 times 10 to the negative 3 inches long, and the other is 2.5 times 10 to the negative 3 inches long. What is the difference in lengths of the pins? The difference in length, well, if we subtract, I mean, look, let's do this. And we convert this to a standard. We're going to 1, 2, 3. So That's what that's equal to, inches. And the other one is 2.5, so 1, 2, 3. So we want to find the difference. You take both of those, and we're going to subtract them. So I need a 0. I need a 0, and I'm going to subtract. I got to borrow 5, 1, 0, 0, and now I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 back between the numbers 1 and 10, and we get 1.5 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So that is going to be H, 1.5 times 10 to the negative 3 inches. For number 28 is H again, which represents the complete factorization of 3v squared plus 9v. So we look at their coefficients first. What can I factor out? A 3. And now we look at the variables. I can factor out at least a v. And if I factor out a 3v, I'm left with v plus 3. And so the answer is 3v times the quantity v plus 3. 29 would be C. Lincoln High School earned $5,100 in ticket sales for a play. The cost per ticket was $12. Let T represent the number of tickets sold to the play. Which of the following equations could be used to determine how many tickets were sold to the play? If each ticket was $12 and you sold T tickets and you earned $5,100, I would write something like this. Now notice that it is G. And if it wasn't one of the choices, and maybe they moved the variable around or did something funky, I would find an equivalency to that, but that's not the case here. The function f of x equals 35 plus 15x represents the amount of money in dollars Mr. Lewis earned for working X hours. How much money does Mr. Lewis earn for working for 25? So you're finding f of 25 hours, 35 plus $15 per hour, and he works for 25 hours. So f of 25 equals 35 plus, if I had 15, so if I had 16, that would be 400, so 375? Is that correct? Did I do that math right? 15 times 25, 15 times 25, 375. I was just thinking of quarters, and I know 4 quarters make $1, so that's how I did that. And f of 25 equals 410. C. So he would have made $410 for those 25 hours of work. Which equation represents the relationship between time and distance? Time and distance, distance traveled. Well, so I'm going to do this. Distance equals rate times time is typically how you do it. And if I plug in these situations, so 90 equals r times 2. Let's divide by 2. Divide by 2. We get 45 equals my rate. And let's test another one. 135 equals r times 3. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. And we get 45 equals r. So that's my constant. So my formula is D equals 45T. And so, yeah, there we go, G. I used, well, that's sort of a direct relationship. I don't know, I maybe got a little lucky, but I'm just showing, I'm writing an equation for data, and I would assume that it's a linear equation. What is the domain? Domain, so when we have x and y values, you have the domain and range. The domain are my x values, the range is my y. We also have input, output. We also have the phrase of independent and dependent. These are all x, y things. So what is the domain of the relationship shown in the, so we want to know what all the x values are. So my domain are -5, 2, 0, 3, and 6. That would be A. So number 33 would be a nice, simple A. For every dollar that Stacy earns, her dad deposits twice that amount into savings account for her. Which graph illustrates this example of direct variation? So Stacy, he deposits twice that amount. So it's going to be, it's probably going to be G. Oh, Stacy's earnings, dad's deposits. Oh, well, no, if it's so, if we look, so if Stacy puts in 2, we would expect dad would deposit 4. So this is not it. This is Stacy inputs 2, her dad inputs 3. Nope, that's not double. Stacy inputs 2, her dad should deposit 4. Stacy inputs 2, dad deposits 4, so it's G. That's how I would do that problem. A little logic. Which of the following sets of ordered pairs is a function? So a function, for every x, you have only one y. So if I plug in 1 and get like 4, if I plug in 1 later, I better expect to get 4. If I plug in 1 and get 4, and then later I plug in 1 and get 5, that's not a function. You have the same input with different outputs, not a function. Okay, so a function has to have every unique x has one and only one unique y. So I'm going to look for where there are 3, they're inputting the same number, but getting different outputs. So that's not it. I'm looking for, oh, they plugged in the same, they got different outputs. They plugged in, there's no repeated plug-in, and we have inputting and getting different outputs. So I know it is here. Even though we can't see if we plugged in 1 again, we better get 3 though. So that would be C for 35. Functions. What is g of 2 for g of x equals? So they want to input 2 in for our x. So we notice that they plugged in 2 where there was an x. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 2. That's how we simplify that. That is 1/2 times 2 cubed plus 2 times 2, because I plug in 2 for each of the x's. Now I have to do orders of operations. 2 to the 3rd is 8. I should know that by heart. G of 2, half of 8 is 4 plus 4. So G of 2 equals 8. 8. No way. H. So weird. What is the domain of the function? So again, domain are my x values. So what are my x values? Well, my x values, these are all of the points. So it starts here and I'm plugging in all these x's and getting y's. These are dots and points. And then it stops here. So I'm looking to see, what does my x go from? My x goes from -5 all the way to +3. And it includes it because it's a closed circle here. We see that it's a closed circle right here. That's a closed circle. This is a closed circle, so we can include that. So -5 to +3, and my x is going to be between those. So -5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. That would be B. That's my domain. My range, my y values would go from -2 to +6. That would be my max value. So that's all we're trying to find, are the range that they sit between. Which graph best represents a direct variation? So direct variation is going to be something like this, y equals kx, with a constant, so like y equals 2x. And we know that if we plug in 0, most of them all have a 0, 0. So if we plug in 0 for x, we would get 0 for y. So that would be J. and none of these other ones go through the origin 0, 0. So constants. What are the range values of the function? Good. So the range values, well, these are my domain, so these are my x values, and I have to plug those in to find out what my range, my y values. So f of -2 I need to find. So f of -2 would be quantity -2 squared is 4 plus 5. F of -2 is going to equal -12 plus 5 plus 5. Mr. Mac, I was already doing the math in my head. -7. So it's not going to be this. Oh, it could be B. Oh, it's B. Boom. I don't even have to go any further. I know as long as I did my math correct, and if we plug in 0, we get 5. Plug in 1, we get 2. Yeah, so B is the correct answer. Which of the following tables indicates that x and y vary directly? So we would find the constant for each of these. First of all, it's not going to be f because we see we get the same output for different inputs. That's weird. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Maybe that could be x squared, but that actually, no. These again, we plug in different x's and get the same y. I like J. I can already see it. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. We're adding 3, adding 3, adding 3, adding 3, and we're increasing by 1. That gives me a slope of 3. So y equals 3x. If we plug in 1, we get 3. If you plug in 2, you get 6. Plug in 3, you get 9. Plug in 4, you get 12. And it works for it. And that is in the y equals kx. That's a direct variation. So that would be it. This one's going to be x squared. Squared values are not. Which of the following table indicates? Could it be G also? No, I think it's just one answer. I like J. 40. J is correct. I don't think you can be squared. Maybe that's why. I'd have to look at my varying directly and indirectly. The table shows the cost of a 12-inch pizza for different numbers of toppings. Okay, which equation gives C the cost of the pizza with T toppings? So we would again try to find, these are points, so I can find the slope of those by using 2 points, and we can do y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Y sub 2 is 17.35 minus y sub 1, which is 15.5, over x sub 2, which is 1 minus x sub 1. And we subtract those two for time purposes. Let's just do, no, that's not, maybe it's telling me not to do that. Minus 15.5, which gives us 1.85. So 1.85 is going to be my slope, and that would be A. Nope. Ooh. Nope, sorry. It's going to be C, because when I plug in 0, I have to, so this would give me my slope, and then I can use y equals mx plus b, plug in for slope, and then pick any of the points and plug them in for x and y to solve for b. And I know that it's going to be 1550 because that's going to be my y-intercept. And then I have a slope of 1.85, so it's C. A is a trick. That's a good question right there, noticing that difference. So a little bit tricky. Which graph best represents the function? This is a parabola, I know, because this is going to be x squared plus 2x minus 8. If I multiply these two binomials, I get this. It's going to have a y-intercept of -8. Boom. Oh, let's do it in a different color. So I know it's a parabola because it's squared. I know my y-intercept is -8. That has a y-intercept of -8. And that's it. So I know it's F. I didn't have to do any work. I just used logic. Yes. And, ooh, Forgot about this part. And these are your 0 values. So your 0 are your intercepts. Your intercept is going to be 2 and -4. So my intercepts are going to be 2 and -4. So where on the line 2 and -4 are my zeros? Yes. So that's kind of important too. That's a nice little way to find some points. This is in intercept form, is the form of this function. What is the sum of these matrices? I love it. I don't teach matrices in 8th grade, but this is great. You just use corresponding parts, corresponding pieces, and we just keep combining the corresponding parts. So, and then add them, and we will get 2 and 5 make 7, 1 and -6 makes -5, -4 and 7 is 3, 0 and 2 is 2, -3 and 5 is 2, -3 and 1 is -2. So that is going to be my matrix, and that is going to be C. Yep, I love matrices, so fun. The table shows high temperatures for 4 Virginia cities during 1 week in March. March high temps. Which city has the greatest mean high temperature during this week? Mean high. Okay, so, high temperature, yeah. So we're gonna combine, we're gonna add those and average them. Okay, so I guess we'll just add them. Let's do our average, 52, this is gonna be hard, 52 plus 70 plus 74 plus 66 plus 56 plus 50 plus 63 equals, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divided by 7 gives us 6157, 6157, 6157, and now we're going to do Norfolk. Yep, let's see, 52 plus, I mean, could we see which one? No. I was wondering if we just 71 plus 75 plus 70 plus 53 plus 70 plus 73 equals, I guess we could just add them up and see whichever one has the highest sum also. But we'll, since I forgot what that sum was, that's 66.28, 66.28, 63 plus 70 plus 65 plus 57 plus 59 plus 48 plus 54 equals, divided by 7, it's going to be smaller, 5942, 5942, and lovely Virginia Beach. This is not very efficient technique. 50 plus 73 plus 78 plus 68 plus 55 plus 71, this seems like it is, plus 72 gives you 467 divided by 7, 6671, 6671. So Virginia Beach is going to be J for number 44. That's kind of time consuming. I don't know how you might be able to do that in a faster way. I mean, could you, I don't know, that's the high, 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 that's the high. No, I mean, yeah. So I know there's not going to be Arlington. So I guess I would test between Norfolk and Virginia, and I guess Lowe's. I don't know. I probably would just add them up like I did. Which equation most likely represents the line of the best fit of the data? Ooh, that's good. Wow, that's a good question. All right, I think I'm taking 2 points. I think I'm taking this and this, and I think I'm doing 6 minus 4 over 2 minus 1, which gives me a slope of 2. So, yeah, right. And then, I see it's, I mean, is it D? I mean, would you say D is 45D? It is D, but I mean, then I'm looking and finding y equals mx plus b, and I'm plugging in a y value of 4, a slope of 2, and an x value of 1 plus b, and I'm getting 4 equals 2 plus b minus 2 minus 2, and I get 2 equals b, so I get an equation of y equals 2x plus 2. So I'm looking and saying, gosh, that's, I guess, the closest to 2. That's the closest value of 2. This is less than 1. This is negative. This is negative. So I don't know. That's a weird question. I liked it initially, but I got a little sus about it. Colin caught 15 fish in each of the 2 ponds on his ranch. Caught 15 fish in each of the 2 ponds in his ranch. The box and whisker plot summarize the length of inches of the fish from each pond. Taylor, the pond, okay. The lengths of the fish from Woolly Pond have a greater range. No, they have a lesser range, so range. So the greater range of lengths from Willow Pond, the greater range than the lengths of those. Well, the range is this distance, so this range is going to be more. Taylor has a greater range than Woolly Pond, so that's not it. The median equal to 12 inches. The median is going to be the middle value, and median is this on the box and whisker. So the median is equal to 12. That's no increments of 1. So this median for Woolly Pond is 11. Taylor Pond is 12. And then the mean equal to 20 inches. The mean equal to 20 inches. Well, I don't think any mean is going to be equal to 20 because I don't have my values. The lower quartile equal to the lower quartile for, yeah, so lower quartile is this. That's the lower quartile. And so equal to, yes, they have the same lower quartile. So I would say J. Yep, both of them are 9. 9 is the lower quartile. All right. Oh, good. Again. Now, the only difference about this, we have to be very careful because that is subtraction. And that goes out to each and every single point. So I'm going to do 5 and negative, the opposite of negative 2 is plus 2. And then we have negative 3 minus 4. Then we have 2 minus 3. And we have 6 plus 2. We have 2 minus 4 and 6 plus 4. So that's the operation I'm doing for each cell. So we get 7, negative 1, 8, negative 2. Moving this down a little bit. Negative 2 and 10 would be my answer. So which one is that? That is going to be B. That would be B for 47. I love matrices. Which is most likely the equation of the line that best fit the set of data points? Okay. Again, we have to find a, it's kind of going in that. That's where we're finding a fit. And it's going to be that. So I know that I have a negative slope. So I know automatically it's not going to be an F. That is a positive slope, positive slope. So now it's between H and J, and both have a intercept of 6, so that's okay, because that's in the same place. And now it's my slope. Am I going negative 2? So when I have a slope of negative 2 over 5, I'm going down 2, right 5. So that's little and longer this way, so it's going to be flatter opposed to negative 5 over 2, which is down 5, right 2. So down 5 and then right 2 is going to be steeper. So what is this? Let's look. Let's take 2 points, down 2, right 5. So if I did down 2, so from here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would take me there. That looks like down 2, right 5. So I would say our lovely favorite answer, H. So you understand that slope, how I utilize the slope for number 48, which is H. Jake worked part-time at a restaurant. The amount of money Jake earned for each of the 6 weeks is shown. Jake then earned $25 for working a 7th week. How were the mean and median affected? How earned 20 for working? Well, that doesn't sound great. Earn 25 bucks. That's going to lower, well, it's going to decrease the mean. The mean is decreased and the median remain the same. So when we find the median, we have to put them in numerical order. And I'm going to cross these off as I go. 40, 40, 65, 80. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The median is there if we add a 7th week. So boom, 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 and my median is still the same. So that would be A. The mean decreased because 25 is lower than all of these numbers. So of course it's going to bring the mean down. The median did not. Median and the mean both remained. The mean and median both decreased. It did not because the middle used to be between these two and the middle just shifted to the left one. So it is A for 49. And last but not least, a sports league charges $60 per person to register and participate. For each sport, the table shows the actual number of people registered for soccer and football by age range. Which product represents the registration fee paid for soccer and football by age range? Product represents the registration fees. $350, $280, $320. That's going to be J. And this is a matrix C. When we have a number outside of the matrix C, we distribute it in. Yeah, so 50 is J. Awesome. Such a good assessment. And these are all the answers and what they deal with in their category description. Yeah, good luck. That's a really good assessment. It's not all of it. Again, it's definitely focused more on certain aspects, but hey, you want to see as many different final exams for Algebra 1 as you can, so you can, you can be completely prepared. Good luck.